What's up, everybody? Welcome to Beneath Your Feet. My name is Shoreless, and this is the monthly research stream for the Beneath Your Feet podcast, in which we, collectively, all of us together, go in depth on a particular place in Middle Earth. It's like a crowdsourced Middle Earth geography lesson, and I'm so glad all of you are here to join me. We are taking the fast horse out of Rivendell here on the beautiful Treebeard server. I'm so excited to be on the Treebeard server with you all tonight. This is actually the first time I've been able to utilize my hard-working Treebeard characters for the stream. Because typically I'm on good old Landreval with my maxed out Hobbit Burglar, because I have to see some zone that is not yet available on Treebeard. But today we have a very special place we are going to see. It's so special. I'm getting parched just thinking about it. We are going to not just Eregion, but Tham Mirdain. We'll talk about that in just a second. We've got Kevin M checking in the chat. Yes, Landreval, sweet Landreval. We may not be the biggest server, but we are most certainly the best. By at least tenfold, I would say. And I will say that to the face of anybody from Arkenstone, or take your pick. I hope the rest of you are doing well. We are doing okay here in Ekad Shoreless. We are all just getting over the germ. So my mission tonight is to stay awake and not just pass out asleep at the wheel here before things are over and the night is through, and then get to bed and get a nice good sleep for the morrow when I'm back to work. So let's see. What do we need? What did I want to talk to you about? Well, so as I said, we are going to be exploring. Oh, look at this! The beautiful high hall. No, it's not. We're not in high hall yet. This is the high moor, and we can see down below to the. Oh no, they're not going the way I wanted them to go. What are you doing? You're crazy. What are you doing? Oh bother! See, what I really wanted. I assumed this horse would take us through the giant valley, because I love going that way into Eregion. Alas, it is not the case today. So we just get a nice look at the fords of Rivendell and the ridges of the Troll Shaws. They never get old. So even if we're not going the way I want to go, that's quite all right. All right, so we're going to be exploring Eregion, sort of. The menu for tonight is we're going to land here in Gwingris in the northern part of Eregion here in just a minute. And then we might swift horse it again down to Mirabelle. So we'll do like a light tour of Eregion. And really the focus of this episode, and what I need your help with, is the ring forges themselves. And we'll talk about that in just a second. It's a very special part of the world, a very special part of Middle Earth that has a lot for us to discuss. And also, it's quite fortuitous because, well, number one, I thought it was because I went through this area recently on my way to Moria, because Moria just launched here in on the beautiful Treebeard server. Where are you going, you crazy horse? Oh, okay, it's going down to Ekad Candleth. So I just did that kind of as the precursor to Moria. And man, it's such a good zone. It's just one of my favorite zones. Every time I go there, I've gone through there a lot. Every time I go through there, I'm just reminded of how much I love it. It's just such a good looking zone. It's got it's like the quest flow is perfect. The flow of the landscape is wonderful, and man, I just love it. And it's not one of the zones that we've yet touched on the show. So there's point number one. Yeah, El Galadwin is here. Shout out El Galadwin. Yes, the Holland trees are perfect. So that's kind of the first point of lore we're going to talk about, is that Eregion means the land of holly. Holland is the common term for it, Hallin. But Eregion means the land of holly. So it's just beautiful. Got holly trees everywhere. And then you have these Elvish structures kind of dotting the landscape. So we're going to talk about those. And it's just been on my mind. And I guess in an equally fortuitous sense, last week we all saw the trailer for the new Lord of the Rings show that's coming out in like August, September, something like that. And the name that they announced is the Rings of Power. And Eregion is the elf kingdom where the Rings of Power were forged. So there's a lot to talk about there. And there's a lot to discuss. And we're going to get into it. So let's see. Where to begin? Yes, of course. I think a good place to start our discussion tonight. We'll see what you guys have to say. Maybe you guys can remind me of some things, because I do tend to fast forward through the quest text. But the real question I think we should start with is, why are these elves even out here in the first place? So you see all those little horses. Those are mostly elf camps. That's where you see the word Echad a lot. Echad. You see that word a lot dotted throughout the landscape. And what that word means, of course, is camp. And these elves are here. Number one, they're kind of on patrol for Rivendell. Rivendell is not kept safe, just by magical horses on the water. It's also kept safe by the ceaseless vigilance of elf scouts all throughout the Trollshaws and so on and so forth. So that's where all these camps kind of come from in the Trollshaws. And then also in Eregion, there's this kind of a twofold thing happening as we crest the southern Trollshaws into Eregion proper. You can kind of see Gwingris dotted at the top, right there at the top. They're keeping an eye out for also two things, as I said. Number one, the Fellowship. They're kind of making sure, it's not in the books, but making sure that the Fellowship, the Company of the Ring, they're doing all right, And so there's a whole quest chain in Eregion where the we're scoping out all the camps, and like there's actually some suspicion that there's some no good nicks out looking to cause harm, and that they may have even caught part of the Fellowship, or they're letting them know where they went. And so we play a role in all that. And then the other purpose for the elves here is to have an eye out, because there's an uptick in activity with interlopers coming up from the south and down from the north. So up from the south, we have the White Hand, the orcs of the traitor Saruman. Guess what? He's looking for ring stuff. Then down from the north, we have the Angmarim coming. Guess what? They're looking for ring stuff. And so Standing Stone and Turbine before it very deftly, I thought, made this whole area just about ring lore. We're going to talk about why that is in just a second. I think we'll continue to take it easy. Usually I'm off legging it. And because we are specifically going to go down here to Tham Mirdain, I think we'll take the easy way and the scenic route and just slow coach it down there. Take it nice and easy. All right. So why all this ring stuff? Well, we'll get to that in a second. How's everybody doing? How you been? How are the holidays? This is my first stream since the holidays, the new year. Happy 2022. Doesn't look too much different from 2021, but the year is young. For the show, we got the Wildemore episode released about 2 weeks ago. So these episodes usually come out a week or two after we do our research here on LOTROStream. All right, so here are those lovely holly trees that Galadwin mentioned just a minute ago. And that's something, we'll have a regular Monday night group. And one of the guys I play with then, he's often keen of saying that the trees in LOTRO are real. Like, all the models of the trees are taken from actual trees in the world. Like, I don't know if they had like horticulture books, or they went to the local arboretum there in Boston. But like, these are what real holly trees look like. And if you go around the game world, all the trees are proper trees. They're not just what some digital artist thinks a tree kind of looks like. And so as we kind of pass through this grove of holly trees into the wide open plains. Oh, this is why I love it. Look at this. It's so nice. You can see we've got the Misty Mountains over there. Cruel Cadathrus, Celebdil, and Fanwithal. The 3 peaks of Moria are there. And of course we interact with those as we try to figure out where the Fellowship went. We can even climb up to Carithris and go into the Vales of Anduin now that that area has been unlocked a couple years ago. And you guys might also notice, actually I kind of like this format, because usually I'm like running around trying not to be killed, but I like kind of going on the auto horse here. Oh, we're getting some botanical information from El Galadwin, who says that there's a quest in this region where you have to go and collect holly leaves to make holly tea, and El Galadwin tells us that holly actually has caffeine. Oh, you worked in a tea shop for years. Yeah, holly tea seems a little bit atypical, so unless you were in some kind of specialty shop, I think you can give yourself a pass on that one. So there, up on the ridge behind you, there you can see some of those elf ruins right at the top there. We see the peaks of Moria here, where the Fellowship was bested. That's another interesting bit of lore. You know, the books makes it very unclear, which the books are very good at that. So they're trying to get over Carithris, but they're stopped. Gimli seems to think that it's the mountain itself that's like trying to stop them. Some of the other characters have their doubts. In the movie, it's very obviously Sauron because he's Trololoing off the top of Isengard. So I wonder what you guys think, if you have any headcanon. We also see the Burnt Tor, all those burnt trees at the top. They call that the Burnt Tor in the game, and that is the site where the Fellowship had their battle with the Wogs, and Gandalf went ham and lit the whole gosh darn hill on fire. And we go up there and find some wolf corpses and things like that. And then they're down there. I guess that's the negative part of taking the guided tour, is we can't go in and explore those ruins, but that's kind of beside the point. We can do that later if we want. There's a friendly looking half-orc. And then it looks like... Where are we going? Okay, we're taking a right. If we go that way, that's Ekad Dunan. Ekad Dunan is... Ekad, of course, means camp, which I've been saying. Dunan means the West Gate. So it's the camp of the West Gate. The West Gate of what? The West Gate of Moria. So, that kind of brings us to the history of this place. Why are all these elf ruins here? Why are White Hand orcs and Angmarim and all manner of annoying people like Dunlendings, why are they here? Why are they digging around for this ring lore? Well, it's because Eregion was a great elf, I'm not going to say kingdom, an elf nation in about the middle of the Second Age. So, we got to go back a little further, though. We're going to start impeding on the territory of the show that's coming up in September. So, at the end of the First Age, you guys all know the story. At the end of the First Age, Beleriand, the Westlands, were destroyed. They were sundered in the Battle of Wrath. Can you imagine that? Like, I keep thinking, every time I read that or I watch a YouTube video where they talk about it, I think, how in the world does a war like destroy a continent? They don't have nukes. But literally, the land is broken and destroyed. I'm getting parched. It's so exciting. The land is literally broken and destroyed. And so basically, this whole bit of Middle Earth, like this whole area, just gone, cracks and sinks into the sea over the period of, I think it was a 30-year war. And over that time period, all the elves evacuate, all the dwarves evacuate, the men evacuate. I don't think there's any record of any hobbits ever being in Beleriand, but that's kind of beside the point. And so all the elves of this time, the high elves, I should say, the elves they clear out. The Sylvan elves. But the high elves, the Noldor, flee to Lindon, live in the Blue Mountains. I guess it would kind of be where Kellendon is. I'm not exactly sure. Could be over here where Kellendon is. Could be the Grey Havens. Not 100% sure. And they are all under Gil-galad. Of course, we all know the song. Gil-galad was an elf king of him the harp sadly sing. And then at a particular point in time, Celebrimbor got a bit restless. And there we have a beautiful view of Holland. So old Celebrimbor got restless, and he heard about the mithril that was there to be found in Khazad-dûm. And so with a few of his followers, they packed up and they head here. And they specifically came here because of the prospect of working with Mithril and of working with the dwarves and of becoming great craftsmen. Now, this brings us back to another kind of first age fun fact. I'm just going to start exploring around here to see what we can see. Let's go back to this bridge. That first age fun fact, of course, is that the Noldor were in great kinship with Aule. We're going deep here, people. Usually I'm just like looking at the geography and stuff. We're going far into the lore. Aule was one of the Valar. If you don't know who the Valar are, go read the Silmarillion or watch some videos. There's some great stuff out there. By Red Book is a great YouTube channel, as is Nerd of the Rings. They'll get, if you don't really want to read the Silmarillion, but you're interested in this first age prehistory of the Lord of the Rings, those are great channels to do that. So the Valar, they're the gods with a little g. They're not god. They're the gods with a little g, kind of like the Norse gods or the Greek gods. Aule is the god of smithcraft and of building things and masonry and all that stuff. He's the guy that ultimately made the dwarves. He liked making stuff so much that he had to go and make people for himself. That's a different story altogether. So, the Noldor were great friends with Aule, and they became the great craftsmen among the High Elves, especially in the Westlands, in the Undying Lands. And Fëanor was the greatest of those. Celebrimbor, once again, that's the guy who settled all this, was the grandson of Celebrimbor. So all those people of the Noldor were obsessed with craftsmanship, specifically the Silmarils. Again, that's another story altogether. And so it makes sense that Celebrimbor would kind of feel that draw to this part of the world, to want to find out what's going on with this mithril stuff, and to potentially, make something great. So he moves down here. He and his folks arrive in Holland. Okay, so pause. This is the actual ring forge. This is actually Tham Mirdain. I'll tell you what that means in just a second. You go in here for the kind of end of the Volume 1 epic. So if you, number one, if you've never played the Volume 1 epic, we're coming into spoiler territory. Number two, I don't know if I can go in. I may have to go back to the reflecting pool. Let's find out. Oh, nope, it worked. We can go in. Oh, so we get to redo this quest. Let's give it a try, see what happens. We are in super spoiler territory. So you just, you might want to put your hands up and shield your eyes if you have not yet finished Volume 1. I would even, I kind of got to do the story, don't I? Let's see if I can do this while I'm chit-chatting with you guys. So they show up, Celebrimbor and the other High Elves. And along with them, of course, comes Galadriel and her husband, Celeborn. And there's so much to unpack there. I don't even know where to begin. Let me chop some orcs here while we explore. So there's a lot to unpack there because there was a little bit of there may have been a little bit of drama there among the great and noble High Elves, because there was a rumor that Celebrimbor fancied Galadriel, although that would have been a bit weird because they would have been cousins or something like that. But I guess that wouldn't be too weird. Anyway, part of the reason why a lot of the he was eating a half orc. Okay, squirrel. Part of the reason why a lot of the information about this area is so unclear is because it's mostly taken from the Unfinished Tales and the Silmarillion. So there's some debate to be had about what's proper canon and what's not. I said Silmarillion. Most of it's actually in the histories as well. So it's not 100% clear exactly what went on. We get the broad strokes in the Silmarillion and a little bit in the appendices, but the details are in the Unfinished Tales as well as the histories. So it's not 100% clear. It's also worth mentioning that Mirabelle, where we just were, and I think technically this area of Tham Mirdain, that's Mirabelle in the background there. It's not actually called Mirabelle in the books. In the books, it's called Austin Ethel. But Standing Stone Games does not have the rights to the Silmarillion or the Unfinished Tales. They only have the rights to use the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. So that is why there is we're gonna have a few naming inconsistencies in the Lord of the Rings Online because they simply don't have the rights and they don't want to get sued. Or they don't want to lose their license, I should say. And when Celebrimbor arrived, and they set up shop, they started building all these beautiful things that you can see here. All this beautiful Elvish architecture came from him and his people over the course of their time living in this place. And immediately, Celebrimbor formed what was called the Gwyeth in Mirdain, which was the League of the Jewel Crafters. Or is that right? Let me check real quick in my notes. Mirdain, Jewel something. My notes are all kind of confused. Which is where the name Tham Mirdain came from. These are the Hall of the Jewelsmiths. So Mirdain means jewelsmiths. And they immediately just start crafting stuff. It's like art camp on steroids. The Gorthrogs are so pleasant. All right, buddy. That's also a neat little side note. We see that there's some feuding going on between the White Hand and the Angmarim. But that's a different story altogether. So they create this wonderful civilization that is currently being despoiled by these so-and-sos. Oops. I didn't get them in time. And they set about making as much wonderfulness as they can. And it's good for a time. And then who should arrive but a mysterious figure named Anatar, the Giver of Gifts. Now, that might sound familiar to you, because or it might not sound familiar, I should say, because in LOTRO, we have no Anatar. We get flashbacks with the Narmalith story, which I'm trying to tap dance around right now. I don't want to give too many spoilers for Volume 1. But in LOTRO, he's called, I almost said Athanar. Shout out Midnight. He's actually called Anathron, which basically means the same thing. Why did they change the name? This is for what I said before. They could not. The name Anatar only appears, I believe, in the Unfinished Tales, and so they can't really use that name in the Lord of the Rings Online. So they did a clever switcheroo. They just used another Sindarin name that basically means the same thing. I think Anatar means gift giver. Anathron means gift lord. So basically the same thing. Also sounds super awesome. So if you're looking to start a black metal band and you need a good stage name, I recommend Anathron. Okay. And so Anatar, I'm just going to say Anatar, because we're keeping it canonical, shows up and he entices the elves of Eregion, and this region in particular, because this is where the forges were, to work with him. And it bears mentioning that Anatar had previously gone to Elrond and the High King Gil-galad in Lindon to try to be like, hey guys, just a friendly neighborhood craft ring maker. You guys want to hang out? And they were like, nah, you smell funny. But I guess because of their Noldorishness, he more easily got hold of these guys here in Eregion. And he taught them how to make awesome rings. Okay, we're starting to figure out who this is by now. This is, of course, Sauron and his fair form. And, okay, now is the time to really start looking around for some good stuff here. Right. Tommy Lawless says, hey, just your friendly neighborhood ring dealer. Yeah. Like, opens up his coat. He's got a bunch of rings there. What's up, guys? Okay, pause. Who do we think this could be? Looks like a pharaoh. Dark Lord? No, that's not me. Come on. It's just me, Anatar. You know, from school. Okay. Who do we think this could be? I'm going to guess... Wow, I have no idea. Could it be Gil-galad? Would they have made statues of Gil-galad? I guess he was the High King at that time. And he's got a spear. My vote goes to Gil-galad. Boom. Spear. Elgaladwin called it. Yep. That's Gil-galad. Now what we really need to do, if we want to go deep, is cut to the, the High Elf intro, where they have you actually hang out with Gil-galad, and we'll do a side-by-side. But that's not for today. And still got lots of holly trees. Okay, so Anatar does... Come on, open up. Does his thing, and he shows... Okay, Elgaladwin is mentioning the stars on his shield. His sword as long as lance was keen, the shining star of... How does the song go? Shining star... The countless stars of heaven's field were mirrored in his shimmering... Yeah, okay, you're right. There's no stars there. Interesting. Tommy, you are very kind to say that I'm knowledgeable about the stuff. Man, it's just in there, bud. It's just locked in. We're talking about... But been reading the books for like 20 years, so it better be in there. Countless star of heaven's field were mirrored in his shining shield. Yeah. We'll stick with it. It's only been a few thousand years, so I think the stars can go away. Alright, so Anatar shows up. He has pottery class, and he instructs them in how to make these magical rings. And a lot of them were made, and that is exactly where basically the whole back half of the Volume 1 epic story comes from. What if there was an elf maid of this land who was ensnared by, Sauron, and what would happen if she got a bad ring? So it draws a lot of parallels to the One Ring, the whole Narmada story. But again, we're not trying not to get too deep into that. Yeah, Elgaladwin, thousands of years of erosion might just do something. Well, Tommy, I'm glad I can enlighten you a little bit. Honestly, I admire speedrunners and people who are just kind of power gaming this. Because I just don't do that. I like leveling up, but mostly I'm here for the lore. I don't know if I'd play this game if it wasn't Lord of the Rings. So sometimes I'm of a mood, and I'll stop and I'll make sure I read all the quest text and pick out all the details. Usually I don't, though, and so that's partly why I do this, is to go back and see what I missed. All right, so the rest we know. He instructed them in how to make the rings. And then he pieces out. He goes back to Mordor. And then that leaves the 3 to actually be made. So the rings of Galadriel, Elrond, and later Gandalf. Those were forged without him. So I want to talk about that. I think we're actually at a great point to kind of speculate on that. Because one thing that the book does not do, intentionally, because it doesn't need to do this, it shouldn't really need to do this, is explain how the mechanics of the ring. That's why all these jerks are here, all these Angmarim and White Hand and stuff. They're trying to find out, the manual. Where's the book to make a ring of power? Yeah, okay, we're getting spooked. Not a good look. So they're trying to figure out how this all worked. The book never explains how the rings work. First of all, this is really cool. Almost cussed there. I've seen this a few times, but I never stopped and looked at it. If we have any Quenya scholars in the house, please tell me what this means, because I don't know what it means. But this is really cool. So yeah, so Tommy, I do tend to go too fast. Don't give me too much credit. So that's why it's good to go back and look at the stuff. Because check this out. So this is Anatar, or Athanar, Athrenost, whatever I said. And then these are all the elf children of Eregion, and he's giving them the gift. But I think this is pretty interesting. This might be some artistic liberty on the part of Standing Stone Games, because we have the 3. The only time the 3 are mentioned are the rings for the elf lords, and then the 1. So I don't know that they would make a mural to Anatar and Sauron after the fact that they knew he made the 1, which is why I'm saying this might be some artistic liberty. I don't know. What do you guys think? Very interesting. We have our rings now. We have our elf rings. We have Anatar teaching them the smithcraft, which I was saying there's not really a manual for. It has to do with the primordial power of the earth. Yeah, Tommy's talking about going through Eregion with friends. I went through Eregion this last time with my kinship too. You don't stop and read the quest text when you're playing with friends. You just don't. It's easy to miss details then. So the ring, the power of the ring. What am I trying to say here? The knowledge that Sauron brings is this kind of it's the knowledge he has as a Maiar, as a spirit who's been there since the beginning. He forges his ring in a massive volcano, Mount Doom, and that is the only place that it can be undone. And I never thought of this before, but I mentioned the Red Book YouTube channel, and the guy who does those videos brought this up in one of his videos, and he talked about how Sauron harnesses the power of the earth itself in forging the One Ring. It's the only thing that can undo it is the earth itself. And so this is an idea that I don't really know how to unpack. I'm trying to find more information on it. We'll see if you guys have any thoughts on this. There's something more powerful in the earth than Sauron himself. It's like the power of creation, the what is it called in the Silmarillion? The fire, the secret fire. It's like there's something about that has an inherent power to it. And I think that's the kind of thing that Sauron would have brought to the elves that would have made them so thirsty for this knowledge about the rings. This is depicted a little bit in the Shadow of War game, if any of you have ever played that. I haven't. I played it like for 10 minutes, and then I watched the cutscenes on YouTube. But you see Sauron working with Celebrimbor. There's also a famous painting by Ted Naismith, which kind of has the same depiction. So whatever he taught them, it's this kind of I don't know. Like again, I don't really know how to put it into words. This power from the earth, and I think this is really interesting if we consider this in the context of the nameless things, because this game in particular has done more with the nameless than any other spin-off or inspired work or game or whatever you want to call it. And it's especially interesting when we start to think, all right, we're going deep here, people. And I really appreciate the fact that we still got 20 people watching me ramble about the Lord of the Rings. So thank you. Thank you for watching me. When we think about all the teasers we get from Standing Stone about what's going on under the earth. I think their inspiration for all that is drawn from what Gandalf says after he comes back and he describes his battle with Durin's Bane. He says that there are nameless things there that are older than Sauron, older than, or maybe he was referring to the Balrog, but they're older than these spirits. They're like Tom Bombadil old. And as we go through Moria, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening with them. The Shadowed King refers to some like very eldritch sounding monsters. Most recently in Gundabad, if you go to the deep below Gundabad, there's 2 giant cave claws there. They're giant cave claws in the Langflood. So there's some stuff going on under the earth, and I'm very curious about what Standing Stone is going to do with all the stuff that they've set up, if anything. And I think that all speaks to the point I'm very clumsily trying to make, which is like Tom Bombadil, like the Nameless Things, like Mount Doom itself, there's a power in the earth that is greater even than Sauron. And that is the knowledge he brought to Eregion, by which he ensnared the elves who made the 3. So I don't know. Am I crazy? Does that sound like a plausible theory? Alright, we got the rubber stamp from El Galadwin. That's what really counts. Not everyone agrees with you that rambling about Lord of the Rings is the best. You don't break out the Silmarillion at parties. It's funny how like the more reason why people like us get obsessed with this stuff is because there's always more to figure out. It's like a real history. Like I'm just started reading the books again to my 10-year-old, and even just going through the prologue, I'm finding all this information that I didn't know about or recognize before. Quit it. Stop it. All right, what do we got here? Is this Celebrimbor? He's got a hammer, and he's got what appears to be a ring. I'm going with Celebrimbor. That's a ring. That's a big old ring. That's a good screenshot. Let me take the screenshot. Okay, what am I even doing right now? So I'm walking a very thin line right now. That's what I'm doing. Oh, there's a Celebrimbor Yard statue. I did not know there was a Celebrimbor Yard statue. Is it actually called the Celebrimbor Yard statue? Okay, cool. Keep an eye out for that. Okay, so what am I even doing? I'm walking a fine line because I want to see the actual forges, but I don't want to spoil Volume 1. So we'll see what happens. Yes, Tommy, I'm playing yellow champ. This is my boy right now. I need to max out the line because I'm not totally sure what to do. Typically, in the past, I'd only played red because I just want to max out my DPS. But, man, yellow is just so good. Like, just being able to gobble up round up all the aggro and just shing, shing, shing. It's so much fun. Like I said this on my last stream, it's really hard to go back to playing Burglar after you've been playing yellow champ because it's so fun. Okay, so the Gil-galad statue comes from Rivendell. What do you know? Yeah, yellow champ is the best. It's hedging out red Burglar for me these days. All right, so we're going in. Again, cover your eyes if you haven't finished Volume 1. I just want to get a look at the forges. Ooh, more statues. More ding-dongs we gotta fight. Why are you shooting me, man? Come on. Okay, more statues. Let's see who this is. No idea. He needs a haircut, though. My man's looking rough. He's got the circlet and the shield. I'm gonna go with... Go with Gil-galad again. It's a very short list to choose from. Oh yeah, the Reputation Cave in Rivendell. Dalthar, yeah. Imlad Gelair, thank you. Okay, so who's this gonna be? Same dude. Who's this gonna be? He's got a beard. He's on the Numenorian. That's something else to think about in this. I'm kind of like bouncing around this history lesson with this part of the world. There's, at the time of the Gwaith and Mirdain, there was great trade, of course, famous trade, unheard of trade, and shared knowledge between the dwarves of Moria and the elves of this area. But don't forget, they were also in contact with the Numenorians and shared information and material with them as well, which I have to think that's going to show up in the show this year, which I'm very interested in. Yeah, I got no idea who these people are. Just say Gil-galad. Yeah. Alright, so I think this is a good point to kind of conclude our story. Because we know... Where'd she go? Quit running away, man. Oh, she was going to get her buddies over there. So, as we said, the elves, Celebrimbor in particular, made the rings. The famous 3 that play so heavily in this timeline, in the Third Age, the War of the Ring. And Sauron just shows up. Ooh, that was the other thing I was going to tell you. We'll wait till we get out of here, and I'll tell you that fun thing I thought of while doing a bit of research this afternoon. Sauron shows up, and he's, Anatar, the friendly neighborhood ring salesman, shows up. And he's like, hey, guys, it's me. Let me get that ring. You know those rings I taught you how to make? It's time. I want to get some of those, especially the ones that you made. And naturally, the elves say hard no. And that's when Sauron gets mad. Okay, so let's pause here for a second. I'm going to continue to toe this line, extremely dangerous line, because up there is a Marthiel. I don't really want to fight her because it's an annoying fight and I just want to leave this instance. I also don't want to spoil this for anybody who has not played Volume 1. So I'm just going to do a quick tour around. First of all, look how cool that is. It's very easy to imagine the elves forging these rings here all that time ago. Even though it's kind of overgrown now and it's broken, it definitely stirs the imagination. And I just want to do a quick lap to make sure there's no other goodies for us to check out that I may have missed in the past. Let's see. No, there's not really any writing on the wall here or anything like that. Any of those goodies that they like to toss at us. The Quenya that I'm never going to translate. So never that kind of Lord of the Rings nerd, you know. I said I've been reading the books for about 20 years now, give or take. I was never that kind of nerd. I never sat down and learned Sindarin. I messed with Kurth. I wrote my name in Kurth. That was about it. But I know people, I had friends who would sit there and try to learn the language. And that was never me. I never had a keen interest in the linguistics. Wowie zowie. That is so cool. I never get tired of looking at that. But alas, friends, we must away. We must away our break of day because we're trying to keep it as spoiler light as possible. Bye! I'm saying goodbye to the instance, not you all. Don't worry. Our time is not yet through. So as I was saying, old Sauron shows up. What's up, y'all? Let me get my rings. Let me get them rings. And elves say nah. And Sauron says K. And he shows up with about 8 bajillion orcs. And that's where we are now. Emin Nair. But playing this game since beta. And playing this area especially quite a lot. Because Moria was really my heyday. So I took at least 6 characters through the zone. Never knew what Emin Nair means. Emin, of course, means hills, like Emin Muil. What does Nair mean? Well, Emin Nair means the hills of sorrow. So I started putting 2 and 2 together, and that brings us to kind of the sad end of our story. What I'm going to do now... Okay, so that's where we just were in the forges. That's Mirabelle, a.k.a. Austin Ethel. Let's go get a quick look at the library and the school. We're going to see if we can solo the library and the school, just to see if there's any more details we need. Then we'll finish up with a look at Mirabelle. So let's finish our story as I proceed here. Is this where the school is? Am I going the right way? Yeah, okay. School's across the water. There it is. So good. So, Sauron shows up with an army. He's like, how about them rings now? And they're like, nah, dog. I'm not going to give you them rings. Yeah, library instance is pretty easy, and I'm also like 5 levels over, so I think I'll be good with my Xing Xing. And Sauron says, Kay, you don't want to give me the rings. I'm going to kill you. That's what he does. So here's what I imagine the sorrow part of the Hills of Sorrow is, because Celebrimbor, the story goes, about to get a little graphic here, so put the kids to bed. Celebrimbor comes out. The elves engage in the fighting with Sauron right around here, I believe. I'm going to guess right around here, because they would have come up from the south through Endedwife. And Celebrimbor is, I might get this wrong, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong, captured, tortured, shot full of arrows, impaled on a spear, and carried around as a standard to intimidate the foes of Sauron. So if that isn't very sorrowful, I don't know what is. As a side note to the story, so good. Why does it look so good? As a side note to the story, the elves of Khazad-dûm did not leave their... Okay, I'm going to knock that down to 50. Did not leave their elvish companions to die alone.
The library at Tham Mirdain once held much of the
But
knowledge of the early
they...
ages and withstood the brunt
Eat something
of
here.
Sauron's attack
They
against
came out in a
Eregion,
sortie
though
to try
much
and
of
help
the
their elvish
surviving lore was
friends.
carried away by Elrond
And,
the force of Angmar now seeks
whoops,
the
wrong button.
remnants.
Whoop. Yep, we don't want to see the news. Don't know why that popped up. Go away. I can't teach without a map. So they came out of Moria here, and then they fled back into Moria, and they shut the doors. And of course, the western doors were made by Celebrimbor as well. So even Moria holds some of that shared history of the elves and the dwarves. It's all mixed up together in this crazy soup. That one was weak from whipping. Loved orcs. Alright, so poor Celebrimbor is brutally killed. And if the stories are correct, carried around as a standard to terrify the foes of Sauron. Sauron the Great. And not to leave their friends to suffer and die, Gil-galad sends Elrond to go and help out. So Elrond gets together an army and comes to Eregion to try and help and liberate, and try to save Ostenethil and the elf land of Eregion. It's not enough. Not enough elves. Not enough swords, not enough bows, and they're simply outmatched. And what do? They got to retreat. Where do they retreat to? Drumroll, please. Rivendell. So, again, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. That's why we do this, is to learn together. But my understanding is that that's where Rivendell was formed. They fell back into the valley to create a safe hold and ensure that, go away, burbs, Sauron would not get them. And so, in a weird way, the folly of Eregion and Holland led to the creation of Rivendell, which of course plays a huge role in all the other stories of Middle-earth. So it's all connected, and that's why we love this stuff so much. Because there's always more to learn. So that is the short version of the history of Eregion. Now let's see what we can find in here. I've done this instance easily a dozen times. But as we've been discussing, you just kind of blast through. You just want to take out all the bad guys and get it done and get your goodies. So I may have missed some stuff. Right now I'm just kind of seeing some more of the same architecture that we saw in the Ring Forges earlier. Same statues, Celebrimbor, Gil-galad. But who knows, maybe we'll run into something interesting. Plus I don't usually run instances on the stream, so this is kind of interesting in and of itself. Plus maybe I'll get some LI stuff, because starting the LI from scratch on the Treebeard has been interesting. What are they bored for? There is a deed. There's quite a few deeds in this area about the ring lore of Eregion. What am I doing wrong? Oh, there they go. They're just on a delay. Which is kind of the whole point of this White Hand Angmarim incursion that I'm fighting through right now. And so we're like collecting the ring lore so that they can't get it. And we're trying to save the books if we get to that part. But we never actually get anything to read. Which is fine by me. As we've been saying, a lot of times I'm quite lazy about reading all the good quest stuff that they write for us. But I'm pretty sure there's none of the ring lore deeds actually give you any ring lore. But again, I don't know what they'd actually put in there. So, alright, so we're going to kill Piztor. That's a fun name. And then we're going to kill the other guy. Let's see if I actually get anything. Okay, there we go. We'll get a Word of Craft, Ascendant Frost. Finesse doesn't help me much, but I can disenchant it. So that's good. Yes, we're going to disenchant that. Get that ancient script. That's what I was saying. I had no ancient script. I was spoiled. So now we got to go across this way. Youch. Wait, which way do we go? Went that way? Okay, it's got to be this way. Alright, off we go. Actually, let's check that deed. So I'm pretty sure I did all this. I don't think we're going to find anything, but that's what this is all about. Well, I have a lot to do, deeds to do in Eregion, first of all. I'm missing 2 ring lore. The brittle pages of ring lore, the delicate pages of ring lore. I don't know where those are. I don't know if those are in the instances or on the landscape, but I shall have to finish it. But there you go. They don't actually give us any lore to read. Though I wouldn't mind, from Mordor on, they did those cool audio logs where it kind of reads the book to you. I wouldn't mind one of those for this area. That'd be cool. Oh, Chieftain Gush, where you been? Yeah, it would be awesome. Just something, some narration explaining the sad story of Eregion. There's one thing that made me think of the Narmaleth story and how she's kind of deceived by Sauron, and how it always seemed weird to me because the elves are always so aware of him, and there's not a lot of stories of elves being corrupted. But I guess it kind of makes sense, because even if Celebrimbor was not corrupted by an evil ring the way Narmaleth was, he was still tricked by Sauron. So they're not perfectly... They don't have perfect 20/20 vision when it comes to fair creatures flying in ponds distributing swords or rings as it might be. Oh, come on. Clobber. Alright, so we got the one more boss to go on this instance. In the interest of time, I don't think we're going to have time to get through the school. I don't think that there's any real lore to mine there, but I'll check it out on my own. We'll finish up by looking at Mirabelle after we kill this jerk. Come on. Start speaking Italian to this guy. Getting a little dicey. Using all my buttons. Get some crits over here. Let's see if my elf trick works. Nope, that didn't work. He's immune. And he's immune to that too. C'est la vie. Alright, good job everybody. We got him. Let's end our tour here with a look at Mirabelle. As I said, Mirabelle is the LOTRO word for Austin Ethel. The translation for Mirabelle is something like Jewel Town, which just sounds really funny to me. Yeah, I don't know why. That just sounds like the funniest thing in the world to me. Austin Ethel just means city of the elves. Ost means city, like anyway. And then Ethel would be the elves. But we call it Mirabelle here. That's where we're going to end. The sun is going down here on the beautiful lands of Holland. There, what is that over there? I've never noticed that before. Now we have to go check it out. Is that the school? Okay, it's just the school, but I've never seen it from that angle before. That's weird. So yeah, that's where the school instance goes. This was maybe before they started doing the discovery deeds, and so a lot of people just kind of cannonball into the school and the library, the times being what they are. So there's a quest to lead you up there, but you don't have to discover it to actually do it. So I wonder how many people actually do that. In any case, I love the zone. I think it is so gorgeous. I think the architecture is wonderful. I think the history is grand. And I think the zone itself tells a story. So while this was done rather early in the life cycle of LOTRO, I think it is one of the best in all respects. Yeah, Kevin M., I'm glad you agree. There's very little wrong with this zone. It looks great. The stories are all there. The quest flow is perfect and easy to follow. So 10 out of 10. But of course, I've done it quite a lot more than I have other zones. So maybe when I get back to some of the others, I'll have a different 10 out of 10. Love Druid, what is up? Thanks for being here. Yeah, I know you love Moria El Galadwin, so this is kind of like the this is the appetizer. All right, so there's the school at Tham Mirdain. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope that you learned something. I appreciate all you guys chiming in and teaching me a thing or two as we explore Eregion and the sad history of the elves of the Second Age. So, number one, this episode of Beneath Your Feet about Eregion should be done within a week or two. Like I said, we're still getting over plague here. I had big plans for this episode. I was going to try to find a guest and all that, but I had to scrap all that. So thanks for nothing, COVID. So yeah, check it in about 2 weeks, and you can find it. Really, the best place to find out all my stuff, including the Beneath Your Feet podcast, is to follow me on Twitter at Shoreless Skies. And I have all the links on there to the podcast. The podcast is available on YouTube as well as all your favorite podcast proprietors. You can also check it out at lotrobyf.blogspot.com. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, things do happen, especially during the Great Plague. Chef Skywalker says, even just navigating to Eregion is good nostalgia. Yeah, and it's like, it is good nostalgia. It's not annoying nostalgia. Like I'm going back through Moria, and some of it is absolutely wonderful, and some of it is annoying. There's so many dead ends. It's like, I get it. This is how a decrepit underground dwarf kingdom is supposed to look. But some of it is just like, I'm done with it. Not so in Eregion. It's always good. It always looks great. It's always super fun. Yeah, Dalthar says the Dale lands usurped Eregion for their favorite. I can see that. The Dale lands are great. I've only been through there twice. But we'll see what happens when I get back there again. Because it is extremely beautiful. I didn't care for Mirkwood questing, but I guess that's kind of the point. Once you get through Mirkwood to the Dale lands, it all starts kind of looking up. It is a great soundtrack, yeah. All right, everybody. That's going to be it for me. Thank you again so much for joining me. This was super duper fun. I really appreciate you guys stopping by. And let's see. You know what we got to do? I messed this up last time. So let's do a raid. Let's raid them. Who do we raid? Let's see. Who do we raid? Do you guys have any recommendations? Oh, Mage. We're going to load... let's see. Eldeleth is on. All right, we're going to raid a Lobby. Sorry, Kevin. The bot got you. All right, let's have a raid. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.